When she woke up the next morning, something felt different. She tried to speak, but instead of words, a strange noise came out of her mouth. "Cock-a-doodle-doo," she cried. Surprised and confused, she ran to the mirror. What she saw made her heart race. Her long throat had grown even longer, and her body was changing. Feathers began to grow from her skin, and her hands turned into wings. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by tall trees and green fields, there lived a young girl named Kiki. Kiki was not like other girls in the village. She had a very long throat, longer than anyone had ever seen. Her throat stretched so far that when she spoke, her voice sounded like it was coming from a distance, even when she was standing right next to someone. The villagers would sometimes laugh about it behind her back, but that wasn't the main thing they didn't like about Kiki. What really bothered them was that Kiki begged. She begged for everything. No matter what someone had, Kiki would ask for it. If she saw a neighbor eating breakfast, she would ask, "Please, can I have some of your bread? Just a little bit. I'm so hungry." If she saw someone wearing new clothes, she would say, "Oh, your shoes are so nice. Could you give them to me? Mine are so old." When someone bought new clothes, she would be the first to beg. "Oh, that dress is so pretty. Could I wear it just for today?" At first, the villagers felt sorry for Kiki. They thought maybe she doesn't have much. We should help her. So they gave her food, clothes, and even money. But Kiki never stopped asking. She would come back again and again, always wanting more. No matter what they gave her, it was never enough. Soon, the villagers started to feel annoyed. They noticed that Kiki didn't even seem grateful. She took and took, but never gave anything in return. One day, something strange happened. Kiki went to old Granny Binta's house to ask for some soup. Granny Binta was known for her delicious soup, and Kiki could smell it from far away. She knocked on the door and said in her long echoing voice, "Granny Binta, your soup smells so good. Can I have some, please?" Granny Binta was a wise old woman, and she had heard a lot of Kiki's begging. She looked at Kiki with her sharp eyes and said, "You've been asking too much, child. You take from others without thinking how they feel. Do you even know what it's like to give?" Kiki didn't understand the question. She just stared at Granny Binta with her long neck stretched out, her eyes wide and eager for soup. The old woman sighed and shook her head. "If you keep begging like this, one day you will find yourself with nothing at all. In fact, you might even lose yourself." Kiki laughed and said, "How can I lose myself? I just need a little soup, please." Granny Binta stirred her pot slowly, and without looking up, she whispered, "Be careful what you wish for, Kiki. There's a lesson coming your way." That night, Kiki went home without any soup, feeling frustrated. She tossed and turned in her bed, her long throat making it uncomfortable to sleep. She dreamt of all the things she wanted: more food, nicer clothes, bigger shoes. She was never satisfied. When she woke up the next morning, something felt different. She tried to speak, but instead of words, a strange noise came out of her mouth. "Cock-a-doodle-doo," she cried. Surprised and confused, she ran to the mirror. What she saw made her heart race. Her long throat had grown even longer, and her body was changing. Feathers began to grow from her skin, and her hands turned into wings. Her feet became clawed and rough, like the feet of a bird. Slowly, she realized what was happening. Kiki was turning into a cock. She flapped her new wings and ran outside, hoping someone could help her. But when she reached the village, the people didn't recognize her. They only saw a large, noisy bird running around. They waved their hands to shoo her away, thinking she was just another hungry animal. Kiki tried to call out to them, but all that came out was "Cock-a-doodle-doo." No one understood her anymore. She tried to go to her friends, but they all stayed away. "Shoo, shoo," they said, chasing her with sticks. Even the kindest villagers wanted nothing to do with her. Days passed, and Kiki roamed the village as a cock. She was always hungry, always searching for food, but no one fed her. She couldn't ask for clothes or shoes or anything anymore. She could only scratch the ground like other chickens looking for crumbs. As time went by, Kiki began to understand what Granny Binta had meant. She had begged so much and never thought about others. Now, no one was there to give her anything, and she couldn't even ask. One day, Kiki wandered back to Granny Binta's house. She stood outside the door, hoping the old woman would recognize her. Granny Binta opened the door and looked at the big, sad cock standing in her yard. "Ah, Kiki," she said softly, "now you know what it feels like to want without being able to ask. I warned you, child." Kiki lowered her head, her feathers dropping in shame. Granny Binta looked at her for a long moment, then said, "I will give you one last chance. If you can learn to give instead of take, you might be able to return to your old self, but it won't be easy." Kiki made some movement as if to say she understood. From that day on, Kiki the cock changed her ways. She stopped begging and started doing small things for others. She helped clean the village streets by scratching away the dirt. She kept the bugs away from the crops by pecking them out of the fields. Little by little, the villagers noticed the change in the strange cock. They began to leave small piles of grain for her to eat, and some even whispered that the bird reminded them of Kiki. One morning, after many months of hard work and giving without asking for anything in return, Kiki woke up feeling different again. She ran to the stream and looked at her reflection. Her feathers were gone, her wings had turned back into arms, and her long throat was no longer there. She was human again. Kiki was overjoyed, but she had learned her lesson. From that day on, she never begged for anything again. Instead, she worked hard and helped others whenever she could. The villagers welcomed her back, and Kiki became known as the most generous person in the village. Everyone loved her, not for what she took, but for what she gave. And so, Kiki lived happily ever after, never forgetting the time she had spent as a cock and always remembering the importance of kindness and giving. Morals of the story. The story of Kiki teaches us that constantly begging or desiring more than what one needs can transform a person negatively. However, it also conveys a message of redemption. Once Kiki changed her ways, she found peace and fulfillment, showing that it's never too late to correct one's path. This lesson emphasizes the value of self-control, gratitude for what one has, and the ability to grow through personal change. Hey, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the story. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel so that you won't miss interesting stories and folktales. And also click on the notification bell to be the first to be notified whenever I post a new video. See you on my next one. Bye-bye.